Hey everybody, welcome back. And full disclosure, I have not watched Ahsoka. It looked really boring. I heard a lot of people saying it was just kind of like melodramatic and painfully uninteresting, so I've decided to skip that one. Let's be fair, I think a lot of people feel that way. But if you were just to go off of what the mainstream media is telling you, this show is massively successful. There are bot accounts all over Twitter saying how amazing and wonderful and exciting it is and best thing ever happened to Star Wars. And again, you kind of have to sift through there, maybe even watch it for yourself to kind of come to the conclusion about whether the show is truly a good show or not. Me, I couldn't be bothered to care because it just looks boring, and so I'm not going to bother. Plus, it's just another bastardized version of the extended universe that Dave Filoni decided to borrow from for Clone Wars. And it's just not worth my time in my personal opinion. But some interesting things I've seen about it. Some of this was pointed out by Clownfish TV earlier today, that the viewing numbers aren't quite what they would have you believe that they are. So this article here from The Wrap said that Thrawn's debut on Ahsoka lifted the show's demand to Mandalorian levels. Now, some clarification here. They're talking about Season 3 of The Mandalorian, which had dog shit viewership, terrible viewership. People hated that season. But that once Thrawn came on the scene for Ahsoka, it was massively like a huge hit. It like pumped the numbers way high, crazy high. And again, an article from September 22nd, so a week and a half ago, basically saying that Ahsoka's Nielsen ratings prove Disney's Star Wars strategy is paying off because based on the Nielsen ratings, it's in the top 5, and I'm pretty sure it's lower than that now. But this again is like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Talking about how amazing it is that Disney Plus has this Tuesday night premiere, and it's just it's creating all this buzz, and it's must-see television, and it's working, it's doing great. Disney's doing fantastic from this, despite the fact that Disney's stock continues to plummet. That's a whole other story. But their stock is currently sitting at like a 52-week low of $79 or some crap like that. It's crazy. The real truth of the numbers, though, is that based on Samba TV, the binge format from Netflix still works better than what Disney Plus is doing. In fact, audiences are less likely to finish a show if it's not available to binge right away, which is not really shocking in my opinion, but apparently this is news to Disney because according to the numbers, Disney Plus shows are not having the success that Netflix has when it comes to Netflix dropping half a season or a whole season of a show, letting people subscribe and consume it for that one quarter, and then unsubscribing and coming back for the next season of the show, even if it's a year down the road, 2 years down the road, whatever. It just seems that based on the numbers, Netflix is beating Disney as far as that format goes. Now what we have is we had the finale of Ahsoka, what was it, yesterday or today? I don't know because I'm not watching it. I've seen all this hype about it. Either way, the final episode is out. Okay, today's Wednesday, so it was yesterday, Tuesday. And it just doesn't look good, but I kind of want to talk about this other thing first here. Apparently, the Acolyte, which is still up for debate about whether the show's actually going to, air or not, they've been quoted as saying that the show isn't about good or bad, it's about power and who's allowed to use it. Which is really weird, because that goes completely contradictory to the entire ethos or mythos of the original Star Wars universe, that there's light and dark, good and evil, Jedi versus Sith, blue lightsaber, green lightsaber versus red lightsaber, very much the angelic versus demonic kind of mythology of the universe of Star Wars. But this isn't surprising, seeing as, this is a massively, Kathleen Kennedy-driven show here. And in fact, even Dave Filoni's wife was slammed not too long ago over the fact that she herself had selfies with drink coffee, hail Satan on her coffee cup. She had a t-shirt saying abortion is healthcare, being very, very antagonistic and politically, left-leaning, obviously, very liberal. Some would say that this hail Satan thing, again, very satanic in a way, which again flies in the face of the original message of the Star Wars movies, the Star Wars franchise. So it doesn't really surprise me that there's this conflicting mythology, conflicting message of these shows. Again, you've got the idea that the original Star Wars universe is good versus evil, but then you have modern Disney here saying, oh, it's not about whether what's good or evil, it's about who's got the power. So you've got Dave Filoni, who's as unimaginative as possible. He's already, for Clone Wars, he's borrowed from heir to the Empire. He's borrowed from Courtship of Princess Leia, where they have the Witches of Dathomir. And now his last episode for this first season of Ahsoka, he names The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord, as a homage, I guess, to, Chronicles of Narnia with the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Again, cheesy. On top of that, we've had this long-going thing where he's compared Ahsoka to Gandalf, and the whole thing about her transitioning from, where she was before to where she is now, where now she's embodied by the light side of the Force, and so now she's basically Ahsoka the White, just like Gandalf turns into Gandalf the White. Again, the man doesn't seem to have a creative, ounce of creativity in his brain, just none whatsoever. Even to the point where now we have this pointed out by many people, that they have these statues that vaguely resemble the Argonath from Lord of the Rings. And again, somebody down here points out, so Lord of the Rings invented and owns statues. And someone points out, dude, no one said Lord of the Rings. You're making it completely obvious that we all recognize it as Lord of the Rings for a reason. So, some of the stuff coming out of Ahsoka, we've got how apparently Sabine is now a Jedi, even though she's a Mandalorian, and they allude to the fact that she doesn't have any Force ability. We've got the guy, Ezra, that they were looking for, just looking like a complete wuss riding shotgun, riding man riding bitch, according to Robot Head here. It's it's just pathetic. The choreography in this scene that everyone's freaking out about, I'm sorry, it just looks like geriatric Pilates or something. It doesn't look like a fight. It looks intentionally choreographed. It just... People freak out about this stuff. I'm like, guys, they could have just filmed this in slow motion and sped it up. That's how bad it looks. And then, of course, scenes like this. This here, I think, kind of encapsulates everything wrong with this show. Somebody said it was like Mary Poppins-ish. This is bad. So he does this long Force jump, and then she launches him up into it. Oh, man, there you go. Whoop. I don't know. It just looks terrible. And to be honest, from what I'm seeing, you have the stereotypical Disney Star Wars shills saying what an amazing finale it was, or the Clone Wars fanboys that are saying how great it was to see all this stuff from the Clone Wars, like this green sword or whatever in there. But in general, I think the general sentiment is this episode is got to be the weakest of the season, which is pretty bad, because from what I've heard from people, it's like, yeah, the season was pretty boring, but tolerable. And now you have this nonstop just bevy of stupidity. And Bounding Into Comics does a full breakdown of the episode here, where they just go through piece by piece of how they made Grand Admiral Thrawn a complete buffoon. They made him completely unintelligent. He just doesn't have a shred of tactical, intellect whatsoever. He's just completely outmatched the entire time, where he could have just literally pulled his Star Destroyer out away from the planet, sent it somewhere else, and these people would have had no way to escape. But instead, every time that he's, on the verge of victory, he just screws something up. It just seems terrible. And if this is the direction that they want to take Star Wars, it inevitably leads back to this sequel trilogy. I think we all know that at this point. So that means that, for me, what's the point of watching the rest of this? If all they're going to do is bastardize the EU, Dave Filoni's going to take parts from what, he wants to use from the EU, because he's got his whole Clone Wars universe that he has live action actors for now. And we never get the reboot of the sequel trilogy. We never get the sequel trilogy becoming, no longer being canon. What's the point? What's the point of any of this? They have the member berries with Anakin in here, and it just seems like a complete freaking waste of time and money. And it's just going to continue to divide people, because look, we have the new Star Wars faction, you have the original faction, and then you got the Clone Wars faction over here, just soaking all this up. So I don't know. I feel like this show is just doing more harm than good to the Star Wars fan base, and I think it's genuinely just showing what a crappy situation we have here with how poorly Disney. I mean, look, there's a lot of money pumped into these shows to have production quality look as terrible as they do. I mean, let's be honest about that. A lot of this, people have even pointed out that they love the show, but the choreography looks like crap. So, I don't know. I'll be curious to hear your guys' thoughts down below, because, again, I'm not going to bother watching it. I have watched a few of these shows. Some of them were okay. Some were just complete dog shit, like Book of Boba Fett. But let me know what you guys think down below. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. And if you've watched it, please tell me, what your thoughts were and if I'm wrong about any of this. But again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching the video. We do have 2 channels, one for daily uploads, the other one for more of my live streams and hot takes. Links to both are down below, as well as the ability to join as a channel member for as little as $3 a month, and that'll greatly help us out. Much appreciated. We also have links to our Etsy accounts down below, as well as our website. We also have Locals and Subscribestar. If you didn't want to support us on YouTube, you can support us through those. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you on the next one.